Have you ever been drawn in by a headline screaming shocking news about your favorite Storage Wars cast members, only to find out it was nothing but rumors or clickbait? The reality TV show that captured millions of viewers with its treasure-hunting auctions has sparked endless speculation about the fate of its stars. Are any of them really dead? What happened to those who disappeared from the screen? Today, we're going to cut through the noise and bring you the real stories behind the Storage Wars cast, sharing their health struggles, personal battles, career changes, and, most importantly, the truth about who is still with us and who isn't. Barry Weiss was more than just a cast member. He was the heart and soul of Storage Wars. From the moment he first appeared, rolling up in one of his vintage cars and sporting his signature gloves, Barry brought a unique charm and genuine joy to the show. Unlike many of the other bidders who were laser-focused on profit margins and business strategies, Barry treated every storage locker like a treasure chest filled with stories, history, and adventure. His enthusiasm for antiques and collectibles was infectious, turning even the most mundane finds into fascinating tales. Barry's approach was refreshingly different. He wasn't the loudest or most aggressive bidder, but the one who reminded viewers why they fell in love with the show in the first place: the thrill of discovery. After 4 seasons, Barry quietly stepped away from the show. There was no dramatic exit or conflict with producers. He simply decided it was time to close that chapter of his life, like finishing a favorite book and placing it gently back on the shelf. Fans were disappointed, but understood. Barry never seemed like someone who needed the spotlight. He was just someone who enjoyed sharing his adventures with others. For years after leaving Storage Wars, Barry kept a relatively low profile, returning to his other passions like collecting classic cars, hunting for antiques, and enjoying adventures that didn't require cameras or television crews. However, in 2019, Barry's life took a dramatic and frightening turn. While riding his beloved motorcycle through the streets of Los Angeles, he was involved in a devastating crash. The accident was severe, leaving him with serious chest and leg injuries, multiple broken bones, and significant internal damage. The man who had always seemed invincible, who could walk into any storage unit with confidence, was suddenly fighting for his life in a hospital bed. The recovery process was long and difficult. Barry underwent several surgeries and faced months of rehabilitation. The same hands that once carefully examined vintage treasures now had to relearn basic movements. The legs that carried him through countless auctions had to remember how to walk without pain. For someone who had lived such an active, adventurous life, the forced stillness must have been incredibly challenging. But Barry's spirit, the same one that made him beloved by Storage Wars fans, carried him through. He approached his recovery with the same patience and curiosity he once brought to storage lockers. Instead of rushing the process or getting frustrated with setbacks, he treated healing like another adventure, taking it one day at a time. When Barry eventually began making public appearances again, fans were thrilled to see him. His humor was still intact, his smile still warm, but there was something different about his pace. He moved a little more carefully, spoke a little more thoughtfully. The accident had changed him, but it hadn't broken his spirit. Dave Hester was the loud, confident competitor who thrived on competition. Known for his signature YUP and aggressive bidding style, Dave was the man you loved to hate. From the very first episode, he was the guy who slammed his chips down with a grin just to rattle everyone else. He wanted the best locker, the highest profit, and the last word. But in 2018, Dave's story took a sharp turn. Late one night, he suffered a stroke that left him struggling with speech and coordination. Instead of standing in front of a storage unit, he was lying in a hospital bed facing weeks of rehab. For a man who thrived on control, it was a humbling moment. Dave disappeared from the show for a while. The man who once fought tooth and nail over dusty boxes now had a different battle, his own health. Slowly, he rebuilt his strength and returned to the auction world. Though Storage Wars was no longer his main stage, fans noticed a change. He seemed calmer, less interested in constant battles, and more focused on enjoying life. Even if people didn't miss his antics, they respected the man who fought his way back from a life-threatening moment. It was proof that even the loudest voice sometimes needs to go quiet before it can be heard again. Ivy Calvin didn't stroll into storage wars. He marched in like he owned the place. A former arena football player and mixed martial artist, Ivy had the kind of confidence that made people step aside when he walked in. Dubbed the King of Palmdale, he could sniff out a valuable locker in seconds. For Ivy, the storage game wasn't just about making money. It was about running a tight ship. He took pride in his resale store, Grandma's Attic, where every piece had a place. He was the kind of buyer who could spot a hidden gem under a pile of dusty blankets and still have time to joke with his competitors. But over time, fans noticed something. Ivy was showing up less. His booming laugh and competitive edge weren't gone, but they were rarer. Away from the cameras, Ivy was focusing on his health and spending more time with his family. In later appearances, his sons often joined him, turning the auctions into family outings rather than high-pressure battles. By stepping back without fanfare, Ivy proved that sometimes the biggest victories happen away from the public eye. Daryl Sheets was the wild older cousin who would bet his last dollar just for the thrill of winning. Nicknamed the Gambler, Daryl lived up to his name, always chasing the big score. He didn't mind throwing serious money at a locker if he thought it might hide something spectacular. His son Brandon often appeared alongside him, learning how to take calculated risks and occasionally learning why he shouldn't. For Daryl, this was about more than business. It was about leaving a legacy his son could be proud of. But in early 2019, everything changed. After a normal day, Daryl felt sudden chest pain. He ignored it at first, but it got worse, and soon he was in the middle of a massive heart attack. It wasn't just a health scare. It was a life-or-death moment. The man who thrived on adrenaline had to slow down, not by choice, but by necessity. His absence left a noticeable gap on the show. Fans missed his big wins, his bigger losses, and his fearless attitude. Thankfully, Daryl survived and focused on recovery, proving that health must come first, even for the most daring. Randy Pantai and Jared Schultz were like the couple next door who somehow got invited to every party because they were just that entertaining to watch. From their very first episode, viewers could tell they were total opposites. Randy had a cool, level-headed approach, while Jared had a let's-just-wing-it energy. She'd stand there scanning a storage locker with laser focus, trying to figure out if the pile of boxes was worth the gamble. He'd already be itching to place a bid, just for the thrill of it. That push and pull was what made them fun. You could practically see Randy rolling her eyes as Jared went after something questionable, and you could see Jared's grin when she turned out to be right. They ran their own thrift store now and then, turning their finds into cash. But behind the laughter and bickering, things were changing. Away from the cameras, their relationship was going through rough waters. By 2020, the news quietly slipped out they had broken up. There was no dramatic on-screen blowout or public war of words. It just happened. Later, Randy hinted that the relationship had been far from easy. She didn't give all the details, but the little she shared made it clear it had been complicated and painful. After the split, Randy shifted her focus to her children and away from the demanding filming schedule. Jared, for his part, also faded from the spotlight. Without their back-and-forth banter, the show felt different. Fans missed them, not just as individuals, but as a duo. They were proof that not all treasure hunts are about antiques and collectibles. Sometimes the real value is in the chemistry between two people, even if it doesn't last forever. Renee and Casey Nizoda brought a totally different energy to Storage Wars. Renee's booming voice could cut through any crowd, and he had a sharp eye for valuable items. Casey, meanwhile, balanced him out with a warm personality and careful attention to detail. You could tell they weren't just playing at being partners. They genuinely worked well together, both in the storage business and in life. Renee was no stranger to the resale world. He had grown up surrounded by it. With years of experience hunting for treasures and turning them into profit. Casey wasn't just along for the ride. She had her own skills, from spotting quality items to managing the business side of things. Together, they made a powerhouse team. They also weren't afraid to have a little fun. On screen, their interactions had a playful tone, but it was always clear that they respected each other's instincts. When they won big, they celebrated together. When a locker turned out to be a dud, they shrugged it off and moved on. But life has a way of shifting focus. In 2023, Renee's father passed away after a short battle with lung cancer. It was a difficult time, and fans could hear the emotion in Renee's voice when he spoke about it. He expressed deep gratitude for the support he received from viewers and friends. The loss seemed to add a new layer to the couple's journey, less about chasing the next big win and more about building something lasting. Dan and Laura Dodson with a rhythmic chant and bright smile that kept the auctions alive. Dan had been auctioneering long before the show came along. His rapid-fire delivery could make even a stack of old boxes sound exciting. Laura was right beside him, keeping the energy high and the atmosphere friendly. Together, they kept the pace moving no matter how tense the bidding got. But in 2014, their world came dangerously close to falling apart. One morning, Dan woke up feeling off. His vision was blurry, and within minutes he collapsed. Laura didn't hesitate. She got him to the hospital immediately. Doctors soon discovered the cause, a brain aneurysm. The situation was critical. Without emergency surgery, Dan might not have survived. The operation was risky, and the recovery even harder. He spent months regaining his strength, supported every step of the way by Laura. Fans were relieved when he finally returned to the auction block, even if he moved a little slower than before. The scare changed things for them. They still loved the auction world, but they also understood how quickly everything can shift. That knowledge seemed to make their smiles a little warmer, their laughs a little louder. Mary Padon wasn't like the other bidders. While many competitors stepped up to the storage lockers with a sharp calculator in their heads, figuring out profit margins and resale value, Mary seemed to approach each auction like a little adventure. To her, a dusty box wasn't just a dusty box. It might be a forgotten piece of history or a diamond in the rough waiting for a second life. She first appeared on the Texas spin-off Storage Wars Texas, where her creativity quickly set her apart. Mary had a background in journalism and design, having worked as an assistant to the editor of Architectural Digest. That experience gave her an eye for unique pieces and the imagination to see what they could become. On the show, she was often found digging through a locker and pulling out something most people would walk past, like an old trunk or a worn-down chair, and instantly envisioning how to restore it into something beautiful. Her style was upbeat, quirky, and full of warmth. While others sometimes clashed over bids, Mary's approach was friendlier and more collaborative. She built strong connections with other cast members, sometimes teaming up to tackle a locker together. Viewers loved watching her get genuinely excited about a find, no matter how small, because her enthusiasm was contagious. When she transitioned from the Texas version to the original California-based Storage Wars, Mary brought that same charm with her. She didn't just buy and sell. She repurposed, reimagined, and transformed her finds into custom pieces that blended artistry with practicality. Fans nicknamed her the Junkster for her knack of turning so-called junk into treasures. But over time, Mary began appearing less and less. She shifted her focus to running her online store, where she could sell her restored items to customers who shared her love for creative upcycling. She also started taking on more personal projects, traveling, and exploring new opportunities outside the constant filming schedule. Though she's no longer a regular on the show, Mary's spirit still resonates with fans. She proved that Storage Wars wasn't just about profit. It could also be about passion, imagination, and finding beauty in the most unexpected places. Emily Wares might have joined Storage Wars later than most, but she arrived with serious credentials. By the time she appeared in Season 10, she was already an award-winning auctioneer, Having started her career at just 17 years old in Iowa, she trained under her father, who was also in the auction business, and quickly developed a reputation for her lightning-fast chant and confident stage presence. Her entry into the show brought something new. She wasn't a bidder. She was there to run the auctions with precision and professionalism. Emily's style was crisp and polished, and her speed on the mic impressed even the seasoned cast members. At just 27, she was one of the youngest professional auctioneers to ever appear on the series, breaking stereotypes in a field often dominated by older men. Outside of Storage Wars, Emily had competed in and won several auctioneering competitions, which made her a standout in the industry. On the show, she kept the pace lively but wasn't afraid to have fun with the bidders, often matching their banter with a quick comeback of her own. Fans appreciated her mix of skill and personality, and she quickly developed a following. Her run on Storage Wars lasted only a season or two, but Emily's departure wasn't due to any controversy. Instead, she decided to focus on her personal life. She married her longtime partner, started a family, and even pursued another passion, singing. She began performing at local events and sharing her music online, showing that her talents extended far beyond the auction block. Kenny Crossley was the kind of guy you couldn't help but notice even in a crowded auction. With his easygoing charm, deep southern drawl, and quick wit, he could turn even a disappointing locker into a moment worth laughing about. Kenny wasn't just there to buy storage units. He was there to have a good time, make friends, and enjoy the ride. Originally from New Orleans, Kenny had a colorful background before joining the Storage Wars cast. He had worked in law enforcement, run his own business, and even dabbled in various odd jobs, all of which seemed to give him a treasure chest of stories to share. His path into the storage auction world came through a friendship with Barry Weiss, one of the show's most eccentric and beloved stars. Kenny first appeared alongside Barry, helping him on his wild buying adventures. Fans immediately took to his sense of humor and genuine down-to-earth personality. When Barry stepped away from the show, Kenny stuck around, carving out his own place among the regulars. His approach to bidding was casual. He wasn't one to get into heated battles over a locker. Instead, he picked his spots, sometimes going for smaller units that others overlooked. His knack for spotting unusual, quirky items fit perfectly with his playful personality. Over the seasons, Kenny became known for his memorable one-liners and ability to lighten the mood, even in tense bidding situations. He had a way of making everyone around him laugh, whether they were fellow cast members or viewers at home. Eventually, Kenny began appearing less often. It wasn't because of drama or bad blood. He simply turned his attention to other ventures, including his own clothing line and a donut shop. Still, his absence didn't go unnoticed. Fans frequently post online asking where he is and whether he'll return. Despite the dramatic titles and rumors circulating online, none of the main Storage Wars cast members are confirmed dead as of 2025. The show's stars have faced serious health challenges, accidents, and personal struggles, but they continue to live their lives away from the cameras. Some confusion arises from the deaths of family members related to cast members or from sensationalized stories and clickbait titles. Fans should be cautious about believing unverified claims and focus on the real stories of resilience and recovery. The fan community has mixed feelings about the rumors and the show's direction. Many appreciate the honesty about cast members' health and life changes, while others criticize misleading titles that suggest deaths that never happened. Comments reflect love for Barry Weiss's genuine personality, frustration with some cast members' attitudes, and curiosity about new faces on the show. The consensus is clear. Storage Wars is about the thrill of discovery, the personalities, and the stories behind the lockers, not about tragedy. Storage Wars has been more than just a reality show about bidding on abandoned lockers. It's a window into the lives of people who find joy, challenge, and sometimes heartbreak in the hunt for hidden treasures. While health scares and personal changes have affected many cast members, the spirit of the show lives on through their stories. So, the next time you see a headline claiming a Storage Wars star has died, remember to look deeper. The real story is often one of survival, change, and the ongoing adventure of life beyond the auction block. If you want updates on your favorite cast members or more behind-the-scenes insights, just ask. I'm here to help you separate fact from fiction and keep you informed with the most accurate information available.